Welcome to Get It Managed. How to manage your rental portfolio in Excel, Part 3. Part 1 and Part 2 are linked on the description of this video and will also be linked at the end. In this Part 3, we will be setting up your Excel workbook to be able to track financials that will later feed into your dashboards in Part 5. First, we will edit our current view to make room for notes. Then we will create additional monthly sheets that we started in Part 2. And lastly, we will create a yearly overview based on the monthly sheets we will create shortly. I want to move our status table to the top of the page. We will first insert rows until our table fits at the top of our worksheet. Notice that to create a row, I just simply right-click on the rows at the top with the numbers, and then I click Insert to insert as many rows as I need. Once I have the desired rows that I need, I will simply select what I want to move and move it to the rows that I just created. Notice also I'm going to play around with the formatting until I am satisfied with what I see. But I also am going to add some conditional formatting for our PRI numbers. Again, anything green is above 85. Anything between 70 to 85 is yellow, and anything under 70 would be red. Now, once you have added the PRI percentage for your current status, now we're going to go ahead and add a column for notes. We're going to copy the formatting just simply by dragging that bottom corner to the next cell, and we're going to name it Notes. And we're going to expand that cell or that column a little bit longer so it gives us some room for notes. And then we're going to add some borders to the notes so that we know which ones it belongs to. Then we can add here housing payments notes. So in this case, housing pays $495 and the tenant really is only responsible for $55. These notes then later help me when I'm filling out the monthly sheets so that I know who to charge the right amount. The notice we have monthly sheets here. We're going to create a copy. We're going to move it to the end. We simply just check off create a copy. We click OK, and then we're going to rename that to March. And again, you want to do this at the end of the month for each of the months, and then feed all of your data from this rentals sheet here. If you want to avoid the copy and the pasting, or if you have a lot more properties, or in my case, if you have a lot of property managers in a lot of multiple states, what I would recommend is to save a master sheet for all of your properties and make the changes as they happen. And then just at the end of the month, make a copy of that master workbook into its own month, and then just transfer the final numbers, the total numbers, into your financials worksheet so that you're able to track your financials in the way that we are here without having to have all of the months within the same workbook. If you don't have a lot of properties or a lot of property managers and you followed this method, we would just follow the same process until we have all of the months. Once we do have all of the months on here, and let's say our PRI were to change because we rehabbed the property and now we can rent it for higher, or the market went up, whatever it is, we would want to track those PRI changes into our month. Notice how changing or updating the PRI number directly affects the performance of the portfolio. So if we were looking at these numbers from the yearly overview and we had questions, it would be really easy for us to click on that specific month and see why the performance percentages dropped or improved at any given time during the year. To create a yearly overview, we will be adding a sheet to this workbook by clicking the plus icon at the bottom of the page and renaming it to the year you will be or have already tracked financials for. If you have followed this method, you could set up your sheets in advance for the entire year, and Excel would automatically feed your month-end financials into the yearly overview we will create shortly. If you have decided to save your financials by month in individual Excel files, we would want to manually enter monthly financials for each category into the yearly overview. We can then see trends based on these numbers by year on our dashboards that we will create in Part 5. Once you have listed all of your months in your yearly overview, we want to copy and paste the categories we used in our monthly sheets, and we're going to add one last category for the PRI for every month. Once I have my table looking the way that I want, I'm going to pull information from the other sheets to reflect on this one. So for the rent income in January, I'm going to do an equal sign on that cell, and then I'm going to select the cell with the total for the rent income from that month. Once I have that, I'm going to drag that bottom corner all the way across so that it copies all of the fields next to the cell in January into this overview. And then also I am going to be adding the balance cell that I didn't add before. And notice on right next to it has the PRI number. So we're going to be pulling those numbers. Again, we want to drag the bottom corner all the way across to balance. And then once we have these numbers all copied, we're also going to do the PRI later. So for all of the following months, we want to do the same thing. If you haven't had any numbers for, February or January for 2023 yet, you can set it up this way as well. It would just have zeros instead of actual numbers. But for the purposes of this video, we created random numbers and random repairs and income so that I can show you how this would essentially work. But you would want to follow this format all the way down to December, and then we're going to copy the PRI number into the PRI field into this sheet from all of the other sheets. Once you have copied all of the category totals and their PRI percentages, I'm going to change the balance to NOI, which stands for net operating income, which is essentially your balance after all expenses and all income is your net operating income. And we're going to add a total at the very bottom. And then with the PRI, we're going to add some conditional formatting to match the rest of our sheets. Again, anything under 70 would be highlighted red. Anything between 70 and 85 would be highlighted yellow, and anything over 85% would be highlighted green. And lastly, we're going to add some conditional formatting to our NOI numbers. Anything under 0 would be highlighted red, and anything over 0 would be a profit month, so we would highlight it green. That completes part 3 of the series. Part 1 and part 2 are also available in the description of this video. Stay tuned for part 4 and part 5.